The Wagner Temporal Research Team materialized in 2525, expecting a bustling Earth metropolis. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by humans on a terraformed Mars. Primus, the lead scientist, froze in shock as colonists walked past, barely registering the aliens' sudden appearance. "Impossible," Primus whispered, his tentacles twitching nervously. "Humans shouldn't be here for centuries." The team's chronosuits hummed, ready for another jump. Primus signaled and they leapt forward 500 years. The landscape shifted, revealing a sprawling spaceport teeming with humans boarding interstellar vessels. Primus's compound eyes widened. "They've expanded beyond their solar system." He transmitted to his team, "We must go further." With each temporal leap, the Wagner witnessed humanity's relentless expansion. Centuries flew by, and human presence grew exponentially. Colonies, terraformed worlds, vast space stations. The galaxy teemed with human life and influence. Panic gripped Primus. "Abort mission, return to present-day Earth." In 2023, the traumatized Wagner materialized in a secluded forest. Primus immediately activated their emergency beacon, broadcasting an unencrypted distress call to their homeworld. "High Council, this is Primus. Humans everywhere, future compromised, galaxy overrun. Request immediate extraction and strategic intervention." Unknown to Primus, his transmission didn't go unnoticed on Earth. In a dimly lit room filled with humming servers, Donald Ward, a skilled hacker working for a clandestine government agency, intercepted the alien message. His fingers flew across the keyboard, decrypting the transmission in real time. Donald's eyes widened as he absorbed the implications of the Wagner's discovery. Humanity's future was vast, spanning galaxies and dominating the cosmos. But this knowledge came with a price. The aliens now viewed Earth as a threat. Without hesitation, Donald alerted his superiors. "Sir, we have a situation. Alien presence confirmed. They've seen our future, and they're terrified." As Donald's agency scrambled to formulate a defense strategy, light years away, the Wagner High Council convened an emergency session. Primus's report sent shockwaves through their leadership. "We cannot allow this future to come to pass," the Wagner sovereign declared. "Prepare the strike fleet. We must eliminate the human threat before they leave their cradle." Back on Earth, Donald and his team worked tirelessly, analyzing the intercepted data and preparing for the impending conflict. They knew the stakes weren't just about protecting the present, they were fighting for humanity's cosmic destiny. As the Wagner Armada assembled, poised to erase humanity's future with a single devastating blow, Earth's defenders raced against time. The fate of countless future generations hung in the balance, their potential spanning galaxies and eons. The stage was set for a clash that would determine not just the course of human history, but the very shape of the universe itself. Humanity's resilience and ingenuity were about to face their greatest test, with the promise of a star-spanning future as the ultimate prize. Donald Ward's fingers flew across his keyboard, initiating a series of encrypted communications. Within hours, he found himself standing before a panel of grim-faced military and intelligence officials in a windowless conference room deep beneath the Pentagon. "Gentlemen, the situation is grave," Donald began, his voice steady despite the weight of his words. "The Wagner are coming, and they intend to eradicate us before we can fulfill our cosmic potential." A murmur rippled through the room. General Harrison, a battle-hardened veteran with steel-gray hair, leaned forward. "What do you propose, Mr. Ward?" Donald's response was swift and decisive. "Operation Kronos Shield, sir. A task force combining our best minds and resources to defend Earth and safeguard our future." The room erupted in a flurry of activity as Operation Kronos Shield took shape. Donald, now at the helm of this critical initiative, wasted no time. Within days, a fortified command center hummed to life beneath the Rocky Mountains, its vast array of monitors displaying real-time data from across the globe and beyond. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, Admiral Zix of the Wagner fleet surveyed the holographic display before him. 50 sleek warships, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly sheen, moved in perfect formation towards the Sol system. Status report, Zix commanded, his tentacles twitching with anticipation. All systems optimal, Admiral, his second-in-command responded. We'll reach Earth in... The ship suddenly lurched, alarms blaring. Zix's compound eyes widened as he beheld the obstacle before them, a massive field of debris, remnants of humanity's early space exploration. Impossible, Zix hissed. Their technological progress far exceeds our projections. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Rodriguez hunched over her workstation, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Holographic equations swirled around her as she analyzed the intercepted Wagner transmission. "Donald!" she called out, excitement evident in her voice. "I've cracked it. Their time travel tech. It's all about manipulating gravitational fields." Donald rushed to her side, his eyes scanning the data. "Can we use this?" Elena nodded, a determined glint in her eye. "We can create a network of gravity disruptors. If we get it right, we could trap their ships in localized time distortions." As Elena's team began work on the gravity disruptor network, Donald received an unexpected communication from the International Space Station. "This is Captain John Wilson," a gruff voice crackled through the speakers. "We've detected unusual activity near Mars. You're going to want to see this." High-resolution images flooded the main screen, revealing a hidden human colony on the red planet. Donald's jaw dropped as he took in the advanced structures and technology far beyond anything officially acknowledged by Earth's governments. Within hours, Donald was in a secure video conference with Colonel Marcus Steele, the leader of the Mars colony. Steele's weathered face filled the screen, his eyes sharp and assessing. "So, Earth's finally noticed us," Steele said, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Took you long enough." Donald leaned in, his expression earnest. "Colonel, we need your help. Earth is facing an extraterrestrial threat, and your technology could be the key to our survival." Steele's eyebrow arched. "And what do we get in return?" "Official recognition of your autonomy," Donald replied without hesitation. "Once this crisis is over, your colony will be acknowledged and protected under international law." A tense moment passed before Steele nodded. "Deal. We'll begin transporting our prototype spacecraft to the lunar base immediately. Our energy weapons are yours. Just don't make me regret this, Ward." As the Mars colony mobilized, Earth's defenses grew stronger by the hour. Engineers worked around the clock, retrofitting conventional missiles with Martian energy cores. The gravity disruptor network took shape in orbit, its components cleverly disguised as ordinary satellites. In New York, the United Nations General Assembly convened in an emergency session. World leaders from every nation gathered, their faces etched with concern as they debated Earth's response to the impending invasion. Donald stood at the podium, his voice carrying across the hushed chamber. "We face an unprecedented threat, but also an unparalleled opportunity. The Wagner come to destroy us because they fear what we will become. I say we show them exactly why they're right to be afraid." His words ignited a spark of unity among the world's nations. Resources poured in from every corner of the globe. Old rivalries set aside in the face of a common enemy. Operation Chronos Shield swelled with newfound support and tenacity. As the Wagner fleet approached Jupiter, Earth's enhanced early warning systems pierced through their cloaking technology. In the command center, Donald watched the alien armada's progress with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "They'll be here in less than 72 hours, he announced to his team. "This is it, people. Everything we've worked for comes down to the next 3 days." The atmosphere crackled with tension as final preparations were made. Martian energy weapons were integrated into military bases worldwide. The gravity disruptor network underwent its final tests. In secret hangars around the globe, pilots familiarized themselves with hybrid craft that merged Earth and Mars technology. Admiral Zix, realizing his fleet had been detected, issued new orders. "Abandon stealth protocols. Maximum speed to Earth. We will crush them before they can mount a proper defense." As the Wagner warships accelerated towards their target, humanity stood united, poised on the edge of its greatest challenge. In his command center, Donald took a deep breath, keenly aware that the next few hours would determine not just the fate of the present, but the entire future of human civilization. The first shots of an interstellar war were about to be fired, and the cosmos itself would bear witness to humanity's stand against extinction. The command center erupted into a flurry of activity as Donald Ward's voice cut through the tension. Activate the gravity disruptor network, now. Across the globe, hidden installations hummed to life, generating a web of localized time distortions around the planet. Donald watched the holographic display, his heart racing as the ethereal barrier took shape. In Earth's orbit, Colonel Marcus Steele's voice crackled over the comms. Martian forces in position. Lunar base is green. We're ready to give these aliens a proper welcome. The Wagner fleet emerged from the darkness of space, their sleek warships glowing with an otherworldly energy. Admiral Zix's voice boomed across the alien armada. Commence primary assault. Target their population centers. Brilliant beams of energy lanced from the Wagner ships, streaking towards Earth's major cities. Donald held his breath, watching as the experimental energy shields flickered to life. The alien weapons impacted the shields, creating a dazzling light show visible from the ground. "Shields holding," Elena Rodriguez shouted, her fingers flying across her console. Deflection rate at 87%. A cheer went up in the command center, but Donald remained focused. Launch counteroffensive. All units engage. Earth's combined military forces sprang into action. Plasma cannons roared to life, their superheated projectiles streaking towards the Wagner fleet. Martian energy weapons, gleaming with advanced technology, joined the barrage. In Washington, D.C., chaos erupted as a small team of Wagner commandos materialized in a park. Lieutenant Krell, his alien features hidden beneath an advanced stealth suit, surveyed the area. "Move out. We have our targets." Alarms blared in the command center as Donald received the alert. "We have a ground incursion in D.C. Major Connor, your team is up." Sarah Connor, her face set with dogged purpose, led her special ops team through the streets of the capital. "Eyes sharp, people. These aren't your average hostiles." In orbit, the space battle raged. Colonel Steele's voice cut through the static. "Martian squadron, form up on me. We're taking the fight to their flagship." Steele's advanced spacecraft weaved through the chaos, dodging energy beams and debris. As they approached the massive Wagner flagship, Steele's targeting computer locked on. "Fire everything we've got." A barrage of Martian weaponry slammed into the flagship's shields, creating ripples of energy across its surface. Admiral Zix stumbled as his ship shook. "Impossible! How did they—" He cut himself off, issuing new orders. "Divert power to forward shields. Prepare for close-quarters combat." Back in the command center, Elena's excited voice drew Donald's attention. "The gravity disruptors are working better than we hoped. Look at this data. The Wagner ships are experiencing temporal displacement." Donald studied the readouts, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "They're jumping erratically through time. Can we exploit this?" Elena nodded, her fingers already dancing across her keyboard. "I'm working on it. If we can predict their jumps, we might be able to target them more effectively." In the streets of Washington, D.C., Major Connor's team engaged the Wagner commandos. Energy weapons scorched the air as both sides took cover behind abandoned vehicles and buildings. "They're trying to flank us," Connor shouted, firing her weapon at a blur of movement. "Jones, Martinez, cover our six." Lieutenant Krell's alien physiology gave his team an advantage in speed and agility, but Connor's forces knew the terrain. They used alleyways and rooftops to outmaneuver the invaders, gradually pushing them back from their objectives. At the United Nations, Secretary General Akira Tanaka addressed the emergency session of world leaders. "We stand at a pivotal moment in human history. Our response must be unified and decisive. I propose the immediate formation of an Earth Defense Force, combining our strengths under a single banner." The chamber erupted in debate, but the live feeds of the ongoing battle quickly brought consensus. Within hours, the foundation of a global military coalition was laid. In space, Admiral Zix realized the precariousness of their position. This is taking too long. Gamma Squadron, break off and target their orbital defenses. We must disable those gravity weapons. As a portion of the Wagner fleet split off, Donald saw an opportunity. They're dividing their forces. Colonel Steele, can you press the advantage? With pleasure, Steele replied, his Martian ships already moving to intercept. Donald turned to Elena, his mind racing. What if we don't just disrupt their time travel? What if we trap them in it? Elena's eyes widened as she grasped his idea. A temporal bubble? It's risky, but it might work. I'll need to recalibrate the entire network. Do it, Donald ordered. This might be our best shot at ending this. As Elena and her team worked feverishly to implement the plan, the battle continued to rage across multiple fronts. In Washington, D.C., Major Connor's team cornered the Wagner commandos in a federal building. In orbit, Colonel Steele's forces pressed their attack on the weakened alien flagship, and across the globe, humanity's united defenses held the line against the cosmic invaders. Donald stood at the center of it all, coordinating the most crucial military operation in Earth's history. The next few hours would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the course of human civilization for centuries to come. As he issued orders and processed incoming data, one thought echoed in his mind. The future they had glimpsed, a future where humanity spread across the stars, was worth any price to protect. The command center's main screen flickered, showing multiple battles unfolding simultaneously. Donald's gaze darted from one feed to another, his mind racing to process the information and make split-second decisions that could alter the course of the conflict. War. As he opened his mouth to issue another order, Elena's voice cut through the din. Donald, the recalibration is complete. We're ready to initiate the temporal trap. Donald's eyes locked onto the holographic display of the Wagner fleet. Do it now. Elena's fingers flew across her console, initiating the Gravity Disruptor Network's new programming. The effect was immediate and breathtaking. The alien ships began to flicker and phase, their forms becoming translucent and ghostly. It's working, Elena exclaimed, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. The Wagner fleet is being caught in a massive time distortion field. Donald watched as the once-coordinated armada devolved into chaos. Ships collided with their phase-shifted counterparts. Energy weapons fired wildly into empty space where targets had been moments before. Colonel Steele. Donald's voice was steady as he opened a channel to the Martian forces. The Wagner fleet is compromised. This is your chance. Take down that flagship. Steele's gruff voice crackled through the speakers. Acknowledged. Martian strike force, form up on me. We're going in. In the vacuum of space, Steele's advanced spacecraft darted between the disoriented Wagner vessels. Their sleek, angular designs stood in stark contrast to the bulbous alien ships. Energy weapons lanced out, striking with pinpoint accuracy at the flagship's vulnerabilities. Inside the Wagner command ship, Admiral Zix stumbled as another impact rocked the vessel. Status report, he bellowed, his multifaceted eyes swiveling wildly. A subordinate's tentacles danced across a console of pulsating light. Our shields are failing, Admiral. We're experiencing severe temporal displacement. Weapons and navigation are offline. Zix's mandibles clicked in frustration. Impossible! How could these primitive humans... His words were cut short as a massive explosion tore through the hull. Alarms blared as atmosphere vented into space. Through the breach, Zix saw the approaching Martian strike force. Prepare for boarding action. Steele's voice boomed through his squadron's comms. Remember your training. These aren't human opponents. Stay sharp and watch each other's backs. The Martian ships latched onto the Wagner flagship like remeras on a shark. Boarding tubes extended, connecting the vessels. Steele, clad in advanced combat armor, led the charge into the alien ship. The interior was a maze of organic-looking corridors, pulsing with an eerie bioluminescence. Steele's team moved with practiced precision, their weapons at the ready. Contact left, a soldier called out. A group of Wagner defenders rounded a corner, their chitinous armor gleaming in the low light. Energy beams crisscrossed the passageway as both sides opened fire, the air filled with the acrid smell of ozone and burning alien flesh. Steele's forces pressed forward, their superior training and technology giving them the edge. Back on Earth, Major Sarah Connor led her team through the labyrinthine tunnels of Washington, D.C.'s abandoned subway system. The dank air and flickering emergency lights created an eerie atmosphere, perfect for an alien ambush. "Movement ahead," Connor whispered, holding up a fist to halt her squad. "Jones, thermal scan." Private Jones raised a sophisticated scanning device, its screen showing heat signatures around the next bend. 5 targets, Major. Definitely not human." Connor nodded, her face set with dogged grit. "All right, people. Remember, these Wagner are faster and stronger than us. Use the terrain to your advantage. Martinez, you're on point. Go." The team moved silently forward, their boots making no sound on the debris-strewn floor. As they rounded the corner, all hell broke loose. Lieutenant Krell and his Wagner commandos had been lying in wait. They sprang from hidden positions, their alien weaponry lighting up the tunnel with deadly energy beams. Connor's team scattered, diving for cover behind abandoned subway cars and crumbling pillars. The confined space echoed with the sound of gunfire and alien shrieks. "Flank them," Connor shouted, gesturing to a side passage. "Jones, Martinez, with me, the rest of you, provide covering fire." As the battle raged underground, Dr. Elena Rodriguez's eyes widened as she studied the data streaming across her screen. "Donald, you need to see this," she called out, her voice tinged with urgency. Ward hurried over, leaning in to examine the readouts. "What am I looking at, Elena?" "The time distortion field," she explained, pointing to a series of fluctuating graphs. "It's not just disrupting the Wagner ship's movements, some of them are being pulled into different time periods altogether." Donald's brow furrowed as he processed the implications. "Is that a threat or an opportunity?" Before Elena could respond, the command center's main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. Secretary General Akira Tanaka's face appeared, his usually composed features etched with concern. "Mr. Ward, I've just convened an emergency session of the UN Security Council," Tanaka announced. "We're activating the Earth Defense Force immediately. General Jiang Wei of the Chinese military has been appointed Supreme Commander." Donald nodded, his mind racing with the potential ramifications. "Understood, Mr. Secretary General. We'll coordinate our efforts with General Jiang." As the transmission ended, alarms blared throughout the command center. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "Donald, the Wagner fleet is doing something. Energy readings are off the charts." On the main display, the alien ships began to glow with an intense, otherworldly light. Admiral Zix's daring plan was unfolding before their eyes. "They're overloading their time drives," Elena gasped, her fingers flying across her keyboard as she analyzed the data. The temporal shockwave could tear apart the fabric of space-time. Donald's mind raced, considering and discarding options in rapid succession. Then a spark of inspiration hit him. "The Martian energy weapons," he said, his voice gaining strength as the plan formed. "If we can use them to stabilize the time rift, we might be able to trap the Wagner fleet in a stable time loop." He turned to his communications officer. "Get me Colonel Steele and General Jiang. We have a new mission, and the fate of not just Earth, but the entire space-time continuum hangs in the balance." As the orders went out, Donald Ward stood at the center of the command hub, watching as humanity's forces rallied against the cosmic threat. The next few minutes would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the very shape of reality itself. As the temporal shockwave threatened to tear apart the fabric of space-time, Donald's plan sprang into action. General Jiang Wei, newly appointed commander of the Earth Defense Force, wasted no time implementing a 3-pronged strategy to address the crisis. "All EDF units, this is General Jiang." His voice rang out across the command channels. "We have a narrow window to turn this battle in our favor. Execute Operation Temporal Shield immediately." A fleet of specialized ships, their hulls gleaming with the distinctive Martian energy projectors, moved into position around the growing temporal anomaly. The weapons hummed to life, their advanced technology a testament to the cooperation between Earth and its Martian allies. Energy weapons at full capacity, reported Captain Lena Novak, leader of the SHIELD fleet. Initiating stabilization sequence now. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out from the ships, intersecting with the chaotic swirls of the time rift. The effect was immediate and visually stunning. Where the beams touched the rift, the wild fluctuations began to smooth out, creating pockets of stability within the temporal maelstrom. On board the Wagner flagship, Colonel Marcus Steele led his team deeper into the alien vessel. The corridors were a maze of organic technology, pulsing with an eerie bioluminescence that cast strange shadows on the walls. "Stay alert," Steele growled, his rifle at the ready. "We're getting close to the bridge." As they rounded a corner, they encountered a group of Wagner defenders. The aliens' chitinous armor gleamed in the low light, their multiple limbs brandishing energy weapons. "Take cover!" Steele shouted as energy beams sizzled through the air. The human forces dove behind bulkheads and into side passages, returning fire with practiced precision. The confined space echoed with the sound of weapons fire and the alien shrieks of wounded Wagner. Private Rodriguez lobbed a stun grenade into the midst of the alien formation. The device detonated with a blinding flash, disorienting the Wagner and allowing Steele's team to press their advantage. "Move up," Steele ordered, leading the charge. The team advanced, stepping over the fallen aliens. Despite their victory, Steele's expression remained grim. They had lost good people in this push, and he knew more sacrifices might be necessary before they reached their goal. Meanwhile, on Earth, Major Sarah Connor's Special Ops team had secured a valuable asset, Lieutenant Krell, a captured Wagner officer. In a makeshift interrogation room, Connor faced the alien, her team standing ready. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way," Connor said, her voice level. "Your choice, Krell." The alien's multifaceted eyes swiveled, taking in the human soldiers. After a moment of silence, Krell reached into a hidden compartment in its armor and produced a small, pulsating device. "Information," Krell clicked in its alien language, the words translated by a nearby computer. "All here." Connor's eyes widened. She quickly secured the device and handed it to her team's tech specialist. "Get this to command now. It could be the key to ending this war." As the data was transmitted to General Zhang Wei, the battle in space took an unexpected turn. The interaction between the Martian energy weapons and the time rift created a series of stable temporal windows around the battlefield. Through these shimmering portals, both human and Wagner forces caught glimpses of potential futures. In the command center, Donald Ward watched the phenomenon unfold on the main screen. His mind raced with the implications and possibilities. "Elena," he called out, "are you seeing this?" Dr. Rodriguez nodded, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "The temporal windows appear to be stable. We're getting clear visual data from multiple potential timelines." Donald's eyes narrowed as he studied the images. In one window, he saw a future Earth, its cities gleaming with advanced technology. In another, human ships traversed the stars, part of a vast interstellar civilization. "This confirms it," Donald muttered. "The Wagner's worst fears about our future, they're all true." A plan formed in Donald's mind, bold and risky, but with the potential to end the conflict once and for all. He opened a channel to General Zhang Wei. "General, I have a proposal," Donald said, outlining his idea to broadcast the future visions to the entire Wagner fleet. Zhang listened intently, his expression thoughtful. After a moment's consideration, he nodded. "Do it, Mr. Ward. Let's show our enemies the futility of their actions." Earth's communication specialists sprang into action, harnessing the power of the temporal windows to transmit the visions of humanity's future across all frequencies. The effect on the Wagner fleet was immediate and profound. Aboard the alien ships, crew members watched in awe and growing dismay as the images of Earth's galactic future played out before them. Ships began to break formation, some even attempting to retreat from the battle. On the flagship's bridge, Admiral Zix struggled to maintain control of his forces. "Stand your ground," he bellowed into the fleet-wide communication system. "These are tricks, illusions." But his words fell on increasingly doubtful ears. The seeds of dissent planted by the visions of the future were quickly taking root throughout the Wagner ranks. It was at this crucial moment that Colonel Steele and his team finally breached the flagship's bridge. They burst through the entrance, weapons raised, to find Admiral Zix and his command staff in disarray. Steele stepped forward, his rifle trained on the Wagner leader. "Admiral Zix," he said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Your fleet is in chaos. Your invasion has failed, but it doesn't have to end in more bloodshed." Zix's alien features contorted in a mix of anger and confusion. "What are you proposing, human?" "Surrender," Steele replied. "End this war now. We've seen the future, Admiral. You've seen it too. History suggests you cannot win this fight. But if you stand down now, we can work towards a peaceful coexistence between our species." The bridge fell silent as Zix considered Steele's words. Outside, the battle continued to rage, the fate of both species hanging in the balance. The time rift pulsed ominously, held in check only by the continuous output of the Martian energy weapons. In the tense standoff, Admiral Zix faced the most critical decision of his long military career. The choice he made in the next few moments would shape the course of galactic history for centuries to come. As Zix opened his mouth to respond, a particularly vivid temporal window flickered to life on the bridge's main view screen. It showed a future so distant and advanced that it was almost beyond comprehension. In that future, humans and Wagner worked side by side, their combined knowledge and strengths propelling both species to heights neither could have achieved alone. The image lingered for a moment before fading, leaving the bridge in silence once more. All eyes turned to Admiral Zix, waiting for his decision. Response. The image on the screen faded, leaving the bridge in a heavy silence. Admiral Zix's multifaceted eyes flickered between Colonel Steele and the blank screen, his alien features unreadable to human eyes. The tension in the room was palpable as both sides waited for the Wagner leader's decision. Before Zix could speak, a priority transmission cut through the silence. "Colonel Steele, this is Donald Ward. We have urgent information from Dr. Rodriguez." Steele kept his weapon trained on Zix, but tilted his head slightly to activate his comlink. "Go ahead, sir." Ward's voice was tight with excitement. "Elena's discovered a pattern in the temporal windows. They're not random futures. They're showing a specific sequence of events leading to humanity's expansion into the galaxy." As Ward spoke, the view screens around the bridge flickered to life once more. This time, instead of disjointed glimpses, they displayed a clear chronological progression of humanity's future. The first image showed a bustling colony on Mars, its domed cities gleaming under the red sky. The scene shifted to a massive shipyard in Earth orbit, where sleek vessels bearing the insignia of a united Earth government were under construction. Admiral Zix and his officers watched in stunned silence as the images continued. They saw the first faster-than-light jump, a human ship emerging from a swirling vortex of energy near Alpha Centauri. The next scene depicted a historic meeting between humans and a new alien species, their differences set aside in the name of scientific and cultural exchange. As the sequence progressed, more alien species joined what was clearly becoming a galactic alliance. Among them, unmistakably, were the Wagner. This is not possible," Zix muttered, his mandibles clicking in agitation. Steele kept his voice level. "It's more than possible, Admiral. It's a future we can build together if you're willing to end this war now." Around them, the battle beyond the flagship was changing. Wagner ships, their crews witnessing the same visions of the future, began to break formation. Some turned away from the fight entirely, while others simply powered down their weapons. Zix's communications officer spoke up, his voice trembling. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from across the fleet. Many captains are standing down requesting to open negotiations with the humans." The Wagner admiral's shoulders slumped, the fight visibly draining out of him. He turned to face Steele fully. It seems the tides of time are against us, Colonel. I am prepared to discuss terms of surrender. Just as the words left Zix's mouth, alarms blared throughout the ship. The main view screen switched to an external view, showing the time rift they had created beginning to expand at an alarming rate. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's voice came over the comms, her words rushed and urgent. Donald, the rift is growing exponentially. The temporal energy from the Wagner fleet's time drives is feeding it. If we don't contain it soon, it could engulf the entire solar system. General Jiang Wei's commanding voice cut through the chaos. All Earth and Martian forces initiate immediate evacuation from the battle zone. Extend the order to all Wagner vessels as well. We must clear the area before the rift expands further. As the evacuation order went out, Donald Ward's mind raced through potential solutions. His eyes fell on the pulsing core of the Wagner flagship's time drive, visible through a transparent panel on the bridge. Elena, what if we use the flagship's time drive to create a controlled implosion? Ward asked, his fingers flying over a console as he ran simulations. We could collapse the rift in on itself. There was a moment of silence as Elena processed the idea. It could work, she replied, her voice a mix of hope and concern. But someone would need to stay behind to manually activate the process. The temporal energies would be too chaotic for remote operation. Colonel Steele stepped forward, his teeth clenched. I'll do it. I've got the most experience with Wagner tech and I know this ship's layout. Steele, no, Ward protested. It's too dangerous. We don't know if you'd survive the implosion. With all due respect, sir, we don't have time to argue, Steele countered. Every second we waste, that rift grows larger. I'm the best choice for this mission. General Jiang Wei's voice came over the comms, heavy with the weight of command. Colonel Steele, your offer is noted and appreciated. Given the circumstances, I'm approving this operation. Godspeed, soldier. As Steele began preparing for his mission, Major Sarah Connor's voice cut through the comm chatter. Hold on, we've got something. We've cracked the Wagner data device. There's information about a failsafe in their time drives, designed to prevent exactly this kind of temporal catastrophe. Connor quickly relayed the details to Steele and the command staff. The failsafe, when activated, would create a temporal dampening field that could contain and slowly dissipate the rift's energy. This changes things, Ward said, hope creeping into his voice. Steele, with this fail-safe, you might have a chance to activate the containment process and get out before the implosion. As the evacuation continued around them, Steele nodded grimly. Understood. I'll make it work. Admiral Zix, who had been listening intently, stepped forward. Colonel, if I may, I can assist you with the activation process. My knowledge of our systems could prove valuable. Steele hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right, Admiral, let's do this together. As the last of the ships cleared the danger zone, Steele and Zix made their way to the time drive's control center. The rift loomed large on the displays, its swirling energies casting an eerie light throughout the ship. Initiating failsafe sequence, Zix announced, his clawed hands dancing over the alien controls. Steele watched the readouts carefully, ready to implement the implosion protocol if the failsafe proved insufficient. Energy levels are rising, Tommy, he reported. The dampening field is forming. Outside, the evacuated forces watched with nervous excitement. Human and Wagner ships, no longer enemies but united in their desire for survival, clustered together at a safe distance. On the flagship's bridge, Steele and Zix worked in tense silence, the fate of two civilizations resting on their actions. The rift pulsed and writhed, fighting against the containment field that was slowly closing around it. Failsafe at maximum power, Zix called out. The rift is beginning to contract. Steele nodded, his hand hovering over the implosion controls. Let's hope this works, Admiral, for all our sakes. As the rift continued to shrink, the temporal windows around the battlefield flickered one last time. In that final glimpse of the future, human and Wagner children played together on a distant alien world, a symbol of the peace and cooperation that could arise from this moment of crisis. The fate of both species hung in the balance as Steele and Zix fought to contain the very fabric of spacetime itself. The temporal energy surged around Colonel Marcus Steele as he materialized on the Wagner flagship's teleportation pad. He steadied himself, the disorientation from the jump quickly fading as his military training kicked in. The corridors stretched before him, eerily silent and bathed in the flickering light of emergency beacons. Steele's hand instinctively went to his communicator. "Command, this is Steele. I'm aboard the flagship. Beginning mission to activate the failsafe." Donald Ward's voice crackled through, distorted by the temporal interference. "Copy that, Colonel. Proceed with caution. The rift's influence is causing system fluctuations throughout the ship." As if on cue, the lights around Steele pulsed, dimming and brightening in an irregular rhythm. He moved swiftly through the abandoned corridors, his footsteps echoing in the empty spaces. The layout of the ship, once alien and confusing, now felt familiar thanks to the intelligence provided by the cooperative Admiral Zix. Steele's path to the main engine room was clear but not without obstacles. Temporal distortions rippled through the air, causing objects to phase in and out of existence. In one moment, a corridor would be clear. In the next, it would be blocked by machinery that seemed to belong to a different time. "Steele to command," he reported, navigating around a suddenly materialized bulkhead. "The ship's internal structure is unstable. Temporal shifts are making navigation challenging." Dr. Elena Rodriguez's voice came through. "We're tracking the distortions, Colonel. They seem to be increasing in frequency as the rift expands. You need to hurry." Steele quickened his pace, his mind focused on the critical task ahead. The fail-safe mechanism was humanity's best hope for containing the rift and preventing a catastrophe that could engulf the entire solar system. As he approached the main engine room, the ship's systems became increasingly erratic. Gravity fluctuated wildly, causing Steele to alternate between floating weightlessly and being pressed to the floor. He pushed through, his commitment unwavering. The massive doors of the engine room loomed before him, their intricate alien designs pulsing with energy. Steele input the access codes provided by Admiral Zix, and the doors slid open with a hiss of hydraulics. The engine room was a marvel of alien technology. At its center, the Wagner time drive thrummed with power, its core a swirling vortex of temporal energy. Steele approached the main control panel, his eyes scanning the alien symbols and readouts. "I'm at the controls," Steele reported, beginning failsafe activation sequence. His fingers danced over the panel, inputting the complex series of commands that would initiate the failsafe. As he worked, the ship shuddered around him, the rift's influence growing stronger by the second. Back at the Earth Defense Force Command Center, Donald Ward and Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the data streams with growing tension. The rift's expansion was slowing, but a new alert flashed across their screens. "Steele, we have a problem." Ward's urgent voice came through the comm. "The failsafe activation has triggered a security protocol. The ship's self-destruct sequence has been initiated." Steele's eyebrows furrowed. "How long do we have?" 15 minutes, Rodriguez replied, her voice tight with concern. "We're working on a solution. Stand by." General Zheng Wei's commanding presence filled the command center. "We're not leaving one of our own behind. Captain Hawkins, prepare your team for immediate deployment. You're going in to extract Colonel Steele." In the launch bay, Captain Michael Hawkins and his squad of elite soldiers boarded a specially modified shuttle. The vessel's hull gleamed with experimental shielding designed to withstand the rift's temporal effects. "Rescue team is go for launch," Hawkins reported as the shuttle's engines roared to life. The small craft shot out of the Earth Defense Force carrier, streaking towards the Wagner flagship. As they approached, the true scale of the temporal distortions became apparent. Space itself seemed to warp and twist around them, debris from the earlier battle phasing in and out of existence. Inside the Wagner ship, Steele worked frantically to complete the failsafe activation while searching for a way to abort the self-destruct sequence. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he raced against time. "Colonel Steele," Major Sarah Connor's voice cut through the calm static. "We've uncovered information about a backup system that can override the self-destruct. I'm transmitting the data now." Steele's eyes scanned the incoming information. "Copy that, Major. I see it. It's a manual override in a secondary control room, but I can't leave the failsafe unattended." As Steele grappled with this new challenge, Captain Hawkins's shuttle fought its way through the temporal storm surrounding the flagship. The small craft bucked and shuddered, alarms blaring as the hull strained against the rift's pull. "Steady as she goes," Hawkins growled, his hands firm on the controls. "We're coming for you, Steele." The rescue shuttle finally breached the flagship's shielding, docking with a sickening crunch of metal on metal. Hawkins and his team poured out, their weapons at the ready. "Colonel Steele, this is Captain Hawkins. What's your location?" "Main engine room," Steele replied, relief evident in his voice. "But we need to get to the secondary control room to abort the self-destruct." Hawkins and his team navigated the shifting corridors of the Wagner ship, guided by Admiral Zix's intelligence and their own training. They fought through temporal anomalies, their bodies occasionally phasing through solid matter as time itself fluctuated around them. With less than 5 minutes remaining on the self-destruct countdown, Hawkins's team reached Steele in the engine room. The soldiers quickly assessed the situation, their training kicking in despite the alien environment. "Captain," Steele said, his voice grim, "someone needs to stay here to monitor the failsafe. I'll guide you to the secondary control room." Hawkins shook his head. "Negative, Colonel. You're the expert on this tech. You go with my team. I'll hold the fort here." Before Steele could protest, Hawkins had taken his position at the controls. With a nod of understanding between the two soldiers, Steele led the rescue team towards the secondary control room. The race against time reached its climax as Steele and the team burst into the secondary control room. His fingers flew over the alien console, inputting the override sequence with seconds to spare. A deep rumble reverberated through the ship as the self-destruct sequence aborted, but their relief was short-lived. The failsafe activation, now complete, was causing the time rift to collapse rapidly. "The ship's being pulled into the rift." Rodriguez's panicked voice came over the comm. "You need to evacuate now." As the rescue team scrambled back to their shuttle, Steele made a split-second decision. "Get to the shuttle," he ordered. "I'm going back for Hawkins." Before anyone could stop him, Steele was sprinting back towards the engine room. The ship groaned and twisted around him, entire sections phasing in and out of reality as the rift's collapse accelerated. Steele reached the engine room to find Hawkins struggling with the controls. "It's no use," Hawkins yelled over the cacophony of alarms. "The ship's too deep in the rift. We're not going to make it out." As the two soldiers stared at each other, the reality of their situation sinking in, the ship gave a violent lurch. The world around them began to blur, past and future versions of the engine room overlapping in a dizzying display. The last thing Steele saw before the world went white was the Wagner time drive, its core pulsing with blinding energy. Then, in a flash of temporal energy, the flagship, along with Steele and Hawkins, vanished from normal spacetime. In the aftermath, the Earth Defense Force ships watched in awe as the rift collapsed in on itself, leaving behind nothing but empty space where the massive Wagner vessel had once been. The immediate danger had passed, but the cost had been high. As the dust settled and the remaining ships regrouped, a strange energy reading caught the attention of Earth's sensors. It was faint, barely detectable, but unmistakably present at the rift's former location. A signal, pulsing weakly but persistently, hinting that perhaps the story of Colonel Steele, Captain Hawkins, and the Wagner flagship was not yet over. The faint signal pulsed steadily, a lone beacon in the vast emptiness of space where the Wagner flagship had vanished. Dr. Elena Rodriguez hunched over her console, her eyes scanning the data streams for any change in the mysterious transmission. "Still no decryption?" Donald Ward asked, his voice tight with tension. Rodriguez shook her head. "It's unlike anything we've seen before. The signal structure is constantly shifting, almost as if it's moving through time," Ward finished, his brow furrowing. Days turned to weeks as Earth's brightest minds worked tirelessly to unravel the enigma. The signal grew stronger, more frequent, but remained maddeningly indecipherable. 1 month after the battle, the EDF patrol ship Vigilant cruised through the sector, its sensors sweeping the area for any anomalies. Captain Jenna Hayes stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the monitor. "Ma'am, we're detecting an energy surge," her science officer reported, his voice rising with excitement. Before Hayes could respond, a blinding flash of light erupted in space. The Vigilant's crew shielded their eyes, and when they looked again, they gasped in collective shock. The Wagner flagship had reappeared, its massive hull scarred and pitted, bearing the marks of an impossible journey. Hayes leaned forward, her heart racing. "Hail them," she ordered. The communications officer worked his console, and after a tense moment, a familiar voice crackled through the speakers. But it was changed, weathered by time and experience. "This is Colonel Marcus Steele of the Earth Defense Force. Request immediate assistance and quarantine protocols." Hayes exchanged a bewildered look with her crew. "Colonel Steele, we thought you were lost." "It's a long story, Captain," Steele replied, his voice carrying the weight of years. "One I'm eager to share once we've secured the ship and its technology." Within hours, the area was swarming with EDF vessels. A specially equipped boarding team, led by General Zhang Wei himself, prepared to enter the Wagner flagship. As the airlock cycled open, Zhang and his team found themselves face to face with a man who was at once familiar and strange. Colonel Steele stood before them, his once dark hair now streaked with gray, a thick beard covering his jaw. His eyes, however, held the same persistence and intelligence they remembered. "Welcome aboard," Steele said, a wry smile crossing his weathered features. "You'll have to excuse the mess. We've been away for a while." Chang stepped forward, clasping Steele's arm in a warrior's greeting. "Colonel, it's good to have you back, though it seems you've had quite the journey." Steele nodded, his eyes distant for a moment. "You have no idea, General. For you, it's been a month. For me—" He paused, collecting himself. "For me, it's been decades." As the team moved through the ship, Steele recounted his incredible odyssey. The Wagner flagship, caught in the collapsing time rift, had been hurled through Earth's future history. Steele and Captain Hawkins had found themselves witnesses to humanity's greatest triumphs and darkest hours. "We saw it all," Steele explained as they entered the ship's command center. "The first interstellar colony, the development of faster-than-light travel, the formation of a galactic alliance. And we didn't just observe, we participated." He activated a holographic display showing Earth transformed by advanced technology. Gleaming cities stretched into the sky, connected by a web of space elevators. Ships of human and alien design moved in harmony through the solar system. Using our knowledge of potential futures and the Wagner technology at our disposal, we were able to guide humanity's development, Steele continued. We helped avoid catastrophic wars, accelerated scientific breakthroughs, and fostered peaceful relations with other species. Zhang Wei listened in awe, his mind blown from the implications. "Colonel, this is incredible, but the potential for altering the timeline—" Steele held up a hand, his expression grave. "Believe me, General, we were acutely aware of the risks. Every action we took was carefully considered, but we also realized that by doing nothing, we risked allowing preventable tragedies to unfold." As the boarding team continued their inspection of the ship, they encountered more surprises. Wagner crew members worked alongside humans in uniforms of unfamiliar design. Advanced technology, far beyond current Earth capabilities, hummed with quiet efficiency. Back on Earth, the news of Steele's return and his extraordinary tale sent shockwaves through the global community. Donald Ward and Dr. Elena Rodriguez led a team of experts in debriefing the time-displaced colonel, hanging on every word of his account. "The Wagner," Steele explained during one session, "they're not our enemies. They never truly were. Their attack was born of fear of what humanity might become. But through our shared experiences, we've forged a bond of understanding and cooperation. As if to underscore his words, a transmission arrived from Admiral Zix and the remaining Wagner forces. The alien leader's compound eyes gleamed with a new light as he addressed Earth's representatives. "People of Earth," Zix began, his translator conveying a tone of respect and hope. "We have observed your actions during and after the recent crisis. Your species has demonstrated compassion, ingenuity, and a capacity for growth that we had not anticipated. In light of this, we propose a new era of cooperation between our peoples." The proposal sent diplomats and politicians into a frenzy of activity. The United Nations convened a special session to discuss the implications of time travel technology and the potential for interspecies cooperation. In a historic address to the General Assembly, Colonel Steele, now officially the most experienced human in matters of temporal affairs, spoke passionately about the need for responsible governance of time travel technology. "We stand at a crossroads," Steele declared, his voice carrying the weight of his unique experiences. "The power to shape time itself is within our grasp. But with this power comes an awesome responsibility. We must establish clear guidelines to prevent abuse and ensure that our exploration of the time stream serves the greater good of all species." His words resonated with the assembled leaders, leading to the drafting of the Temporal Accords, a comprehensive set of regulations governing the use of time travel technology and establishing protocols for interaction with other species. As humanity grappled with its new role on the galactic stage, work began on expanding and upgrading the International Space Station with Wagner technology. The station would serve as a neutral ground for diplomatic relations and scientific exchange between Earth, Mars, and the Wagner homeworld. Colonel Steele, his unique experiences making him the ideal candidate, was appointed to head a new international organization tasked with overseeing temporal affairs and fostering positive relations with other species. As he looked out at the stars from his office on the upgraded ISS, Steele reflected on the long, strange journey that had brought him to this point. The first joint human-Wagner expedition was preparing to depart, its mission to explore a distant star system. The ship, a marvel of combined technologies, represented the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. As Steele watched the ship engage its faster-than-light drive and disappear into the cosmic expanse, he felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The universe, with all its wonders and challenges, lay open before them, and humanity, no longer alone, was ready to take its place among the stars.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.